Hello, I'm Jong-young Park. Creating prostheses and taking impressions are closely related together because you have to have success of one for success of the other, and for the successful result you would need good process. So if you take good impressions, you would also have good prosthesis on your hand. Now this time, after learning abutment level fixed impressions, let's master about fixture level impressions at this lecture.
확실하게 마스터해 봅시다.
So this will be the content that I'm going to talk about. First, understanding of the fixture level impressions. Fixture 3D positioning in the mouth using impression coping, you recreate using model. Of the fixture level impression, pickup type impression is the one that is most commonly used. The red arrow indicates pickup impression coping. You might not know much if you see it for the first time, but if you use it many times in your clinic, you would be familiar with it. Here you have to use open tray. Link the pickup impression coping and then take the impression, unscrew it and take the impression out. Then pickup impression coping will come with the impression, and you have this one, lab analog, that copies the form of the fixture. Through the video, you will gain more understanding. This is the pickup impression coping. So you have to put the hex correctly and then connect. It's the same method as taking impression of natural teeth, meaning you use light and heavy body. And here you need a hole in the tray. You need an open tray, so after the impression is seated, you can unscrew it before removing the impression. And then you deliver healing abutment into the mouth again. And from the next step, please use carefully. The lab analog recreates the fixture form, and that lab analog linked again to the pick up impression coping and screw again. Then 3D positioning will be recreated. This is creating the soft tissue, creating gummy tissue, and then you pour cast. That means 3D positioning in the mouth is relocated to the cast model, and the abutment is selected and customized and then modified. In case of the custom abutment, of course, you don't need the modification step. And then you fabricate the crown. In the lab, once the crown is fabricated, then it comes to the clinic. And healing abutment is unscrewed again, and then abutment using hex. The positioning is set and delivered and connected correctly. Then the positioning created in the lab is used for the positioning in the clinic to go in the right place, and with the cleaning everything will be complete. 3D positioning, how the impression coping is used for taking impressions. I hope that through this video you have gained more understanding. The key part is correctly connecting the hex. One is wrong connection here. Let's try to find out which one it is. Can you see it? The same impression coping. There is a notch, and if there is a notch and there is some distance, wrong connection, and there is also a gap that can be used as an identifier, and with that you can distinguish between wrong and correct connection, and this is the correct connection. The hex. Even if it's wrongly connected, this screw still will be tightened, so you really have to be careful. In case of pickup impression, you have to have hole in the tray, and you have to remove impression after unscrewing. If you try to remove impression without unscrewing, you can damage the fixture and the impression body could tear. In the cast model, one-feet abutment was created and final prosthesis was made. If the crown is short for retention, I prefer cast restoration, and for longer extension, I prefer fixer level impression because it's easy to make and design subgingivally. Of the fixture level impression, the one that I use most often is transfer type impression. Red arrow indicates transfer impression coping. You might not again understand what it is if you see it for the first time, but by seeing the next slide and videos you'll gain more understanding. If you use this type of coping, unlike the pickup impression coping, you don't have to use a tray with a hole. You can use closed tray, like any tray that you use for taking impression of natural teeth. After taking impression from the fixture, transfer impression coping, you unscrew and then reposition in the impression. That is very important steps. So let me explain further. If you see the video, you will understand more. So this is the transfer impression coping. The first steps are same as the pickup impression coping. Healing abutment is removed and hex needs to be put in correctly to connect the transfer impression coping, and then screw hole. The driver hole needs to be blocked out, and I'll explain more further later on. Using the impression material, you take the impression and typical rubber impression. What is different from the pickup type is that you don't need a hole in the tray, and after taking impression, transfer impression coping, unlike the pickup impression coping, it just stays in the mouth. And you remove it from the mouth as the next step, and this step is healing abutment is again delivered. Lab analog recreates the fixture form and shape, and here transfer impression coping is applied, and using the index that you're taking, transfer impression coping is again delivered to the impression. Gum tissue is created and cast is poured for the model to be complete. Using transfer impression coping, what is important is that driver hole needs to be blocked out. So if you take even impression to the driver hole, next mistakes can occur. Now the circle area is where I used wax to block out. Impression is elastic, so in reposition transfer impression coping, because of the red circled area, it can settle not sufficiently. So if you enlarge it, you can understand further. If you take impression without blocking out the driver hole, then there could be more errors. I usually block out with utility wax and then take impression. So let's look at the real case. Dentist. Just connect transfer impression coping and take impression with the closed tray, and the next steps can all be done at the lab. Consult the lab to select the abutment, modify it, and you fabricate the final prosthesis. Then the dentist tests abutment and others are delivered, final prosthesis is delivered to the mouth, and everything is complete. Another easy mistake is using internal conical product from other companies. Unlike the originals, other companies' product screws could be longer. And the arrow area needs to stay empty for the correct connection. If the screw, however, is long, there could be floor interference. So the original connects correctly, but the D company's products cannot connect in the right way because of the flow interference. Do you see the interference? And also a gap in the ostium connection. And in the short implant, this type of mistakes can occur. And if diameter with 6 or 7, there could be flow interference if it's other companies' products. So it's same with the scanned body. So you need to understand other companies' products also well. Otherwise, you could have mistakes on your hand. Next is usage of the bite impression coping. And here, the bite impression coping, you connected the hex correctly in the mouth, and again, the important area is this. In transfer impression coping, if you create it short, then you have 1 or 2 bite space available with the opposite teeth is very important. So if there's occlusion with the opposite teeth, of course, bite impression cannot be taken very well. So same impression taken as transfer impression coping. And again, we position the impression body. And on the fixture level, abutment and prosthesis were created at one go. And abutment is connected orally, and final prosthesis was fabricated. Compared to transfer impression coping, bite impression coping, some people connect better. The retention is shorter, but why does it connect better? So I thought about this. And I think it's because there is no driver hole, resulting in less errors. The driver hole of the transfer impression coping, if you block out with wax, both copings would give you good results. Like this, with wax, driver hole needs to be blocked out. I hope that you will do this. Next is digital scanning on the fixture level. First, based on top-down protocol, guide is designed. And after OCO integration, scan body is connected and digitally scanned. Custom abutment and zirconia crowns were created together simultaneously. Past method was after making abutment, the abutment was scanned with model or orally, and the final prosthesis was fabricated. So it took a lot of time. But this approach, while you mill, the abutment final prosthesis is fabricated, so it takes shorter time. One fit milling center comes from makes the abutment, and final prosthesis comes from the lab. When you order to the Osstem 1 fit milling center, indicate this is 1 fit prosthesis. What is different from the past method is that you think about natural teeth prep for zirconia. So zirconia milling and custom abutment milling should be designed, both designed for recreation. So round shoulder, no steep angle, and the abutment surface also needs to be flat in your design for better results. Please refer to the Osstem design guide in creating your custom abutment.
디자인에 반영하시면 좋을 것 같습니다.
So in using impression coping, the common mistake that results in big error is not connecting hex correctly. So using X-ray through experience and through feeling you have in screwing, please connect the hex correctly, because if you don't do this right, everything will go wrong. So it's very important. So please see what is wrong connection and correct connection. I hope you can now distinguish between the two. Be it abutment level or fixture level impression taking, or whether you use digital scanning, whatever the method, if you have the right connection between the fixture and abutment and have a good margin on the prosthesis, and there is a good occlusion with the adjacent area is all checked, then the method would not be important. You just use the comfortable way depending on the case. So impression material used to lead to discomfort of the patient, but with the scan, as the digital scanning makes everything easier for you and faster for you, everything is changing. So I hope that you will learn new ways to adapt to the changing times. Thank you for your attention.
상을 돕는 든든한 도우미가 되겠습니다. 함께 해주신 여러분 고맙습니다.